I'm Sarah Blackburn, publisher of Edible Boston and Edible Worcester. Our magazines are Greater Boston's only publications dedicated to local sustainable food and the people who make it. In this episode of Behind the Issue, we're tackling food waste at home. Our Winter 2020 magazines focused on climate, community, and conservation. So to dive in a little deeper, I reached out to two local experts and asked their advice on what we can do to help.
Irene, I'm so happy to have you here in my home kitchen today, and we're going to cook together with some of the odds and ends from both of our refrigerators.
Yes.
You are a multi-talented chef and owner of May Street Kitchen, which started as a truck. Now it's a brick and mortar. You have written a book with your siblings.
Yes.
Double Awesome Chinese Food, which is one of the best cookbooks, and I use it all the time. But you also run a food waste website.
Yeah, so Food Waste Feast is really about helping people sort of develop the repertoire and the confidence to find things that maybe got lost in the back of their fridge, bring them out, and then give them a second life.
We have a lot of food here today from your fridge and mine.
Yep.
What should we do?
Today we are going to make a green sauce that is going to help eat up some of the kale and beautiful herbs that we have that are maybe a little past prime from our fridges. Then we're going to put that sauce on top of a chilaquiles style dish, and then we'll do one of my favorites, which is a fridge clean out fried rice. Fried rice is something I grew up eating, and I'm pretty sure it was our way of sneaking vegetables and other leftovers into the kids' diet. So today we're going to give that a try.
Is there a seasoning that you tie it all together with? Like, do you use ginger always, or cilantro, or something to make it kind of taste similar all the time, no matter what you put in?
I love scallions, and it seems like they are always wilting in my fridge. So that tends to be a go-to for me. I think they have this great oniony bite. You can use them raw or cook them, even char them a little bit for some of that super savory flavor. So what we have here is kind of dried out and tough. And so we can just peel that off, and then you just turn your gross, dried out, slimy scallions into beautiful fresh scallions.
A fresh new bunch.
So let's prep these up. So these we're just cutting into chunks because they're gonna go in the blender later. All right, and now let's chop up the rest of our herbs. So we found this little sad bunch of basil in the fridge, and we inspected it, and there was no fuzz, and so it's got a little slime going, but we're just gonna
It still has flavor.
It still has flavor. I mean, you can smell it, and it doesn't smell bad. And because it's really tender, I'm just gonna throw it right in the blender.
All right.
All right, next we have some beautiful dill, cilantro, and parsley. And again, we're just gonna cut up these stems.
And you're using everything.
I'm using everything, yeah.
Yeah.
The stems have tons of flavor, and they're also gonna help us give the sauce just a little bit more body and texture.
So what else would you put in? Would you put mint or any herb, really? It doesn't matter.
Really any herb. Some of the hardier herbs like sage or rosemary, those might not be as friendly to a dish like this. But honestly, anything that's kind of green and leafy,
Tender herbs.
should be really beautiful. All right. And now we have this kale. It was once pristine in the grocery store, I'm sure, but
It was lush last week.
yes,
Yeah.
we're starting to get some holes and just a teeny bit of yellowing. But again, as long as we don't have anything that's really slimy or really fuzzy, I say use it. And I'm gonna do these smaller cuts like I did with the herbs. And then once we get up to the leaves, we can be a little bit messier in our cuts. All right. So we have a lot of delicious green things to put into a sauce. I'm gonna start with about half, and then once it purees down a little bit, then we will have some more space. We're gonna add just a little bit of cider vinegar to give it sort of a little bit of brightness, some salt, a touch more oil, and then we will keep blending, then we'll taste it.
That's good.
Yum. Just gonna add everybody.
There's nothing like the smell of fried tortillas.
Definitely, and the scallions are starting to burn a little bit. We're just like, perfect.
Nice.
And we'll do some dollops of green sauce. Some chilies, some cilantro.
It smells so good. I'm so hungry.
Bringing new life to wilty food is just one way to reduce waste in the kitchen. So while Irene prepped our next dish, I sat down with Fatema Sumar at Oxfam America.
Fatema, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this very important subject, food waste. Could you tell me a little bit more about your 5-step Eat for Good plan?
Oxfam a few years ago created a really simple Eat for Good method, and it's 5 simple things that all of us can do right in our own kitchens. So 5 simple steps. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Shoot.
First, save food. Take a look in your fridge and say, what can I do with these leftovers? Be really creative about thinking twice before throwing out that food, as long as it's still good and nutritious to use. Second, shop seasonally. Have you ever had that moment where it's the dead of winter and you're grocery shopping and you see containers of blueberries and they're coming all the way from Chile? It's amazing to think about how much energy we waste because we buy products that were transported all the way from so many countries away into our kitchens. The third is really about eating less meat. So
Tell me more about that. I'm
yeah,
interested.
so we know that eating meat is an important part of our diets, and we're certainly not suggesting that you need to do away with that. So when most people think about what's driving global greenhouse gas emissions, we think transportation. But the number one is actually the global livestock industry. So if we all committed to thinking about diversifying our diet and making sure that our meat is also grown locally, we could have a huge impact. So step 4 is really about how we can support farmers and food producers. It really is a responsibility on all of us to think about, where does our money go? And who are we actually supporting? And the food we eat, do we know where it comes from? Not just the farms and where it's farmed, but the people behind our food and their stories of their lives.
So most of these tips are really based around food waste, where to buy your food. But what about energy issues?
So Sarah, you brought me to my 5th step.
Oh,
Cook smart. How many times have you left your house and all your appliances are still plugged in?
every day.
Right? Every single day. That's taking energy. Even as you leave your house all day long, and that's consuming energy on our grid. You're paying for that energy, but collectively, we're all paying for that energy. So, make it part of each of our routines every day that we leave the kitchen, we leave for the day, and just unplug those 4 appliances, right? Simple steps. They add only seconds to the way we think, to the way our kids think, and yet can have a huge impact collectively if we were all to move in that direction.
That's such a good point. I recognize my dinner from like 3 days ago.
Yes, there you go. So it has a second life now. And the great thing about fried rice is that all of these things individually, not really enough for a meal, not necessarily worth the work to turn them into something else, but when we add them all together and then put a base of delicious fried rice under that, it's gonna be perfect. We have some sliced Napa cabbage, some carrots that we're starting to get a little bit droopy. We had half a lonely onion, a little bit of pork tenderloin, a few slices of deli ham, and some roasted sweet potatoes. And then we'll add some scallions, some cilantro, get all that rice in there, fry it till it's nice and crispy, and then we should be good to go.
So you typically make fried rice with leftover rice. You wouldn't make a fresh pot of rice for this. It has to be refrigerated rice?
It doesn't have to be,
okay.
But I typically have rice in the fridge, and so it's a nice shortcut. In my house growing up, we always had leftover rice still in the rice cooker, so you'd scrounge in there. But if you have to make a pot of fresh rice, if you really want fried rice, you can definitely make that work.
Okay.
So technical, so precise. I'm gonna come get the ham. Smells so good.
Oh, wow. That's some delicious char.
It smells really good.
It does. It smells really good.
All right.
It's gonna be delicious.
Move this stuff out of the pan so I
Yep.
have more room for the rice. All right, so Indian rice, jasmine rice, and it's dancing in the pan, and then strawberry rice.
good, Irene. This is what you grew up on?
Not quite as good looking as this.
Yeah.
I think your dinner from Wednesday did a
It might have helped.
strong contribution here. All right, I think we're probably good.
Oh, wow. So you basically just made dinner for 6 people out of leftovers that weren't really going to feed 2 people.
Exactly.
Amazing. What else would you serve on it? Would you ever put sriracha or anything else?
I like to set up a little sauce bar, and then anyone can put whatever they want on it. I personally like my fried rice almost totally plain, maybe a little squeeze of lemon or lime juice, but we know that people like to condiment things up. So yeah, I mean, sriracha is great. Even ketchup, some people like. Ketchup is a secret ingredient for a lot of Chinese dishes. So whatever people like, I'm for that.
Excellent. Should we try some?
Yes.
Nice.
I can hear it crunching in your mouth.
That's so good. All those wilted vegetables that have been transformed, and it doesn't matter that they were softening.
Yep, they taste great.
So, what's one other takeaway that you think people should know about how to prevent waste in their house?
I think that when we can, it really helps if we shop more often and buy less stuff. I personally find that if I go to the grocery store every other day instead of one big shop once a week, then I get less stressed out about going to the grocery store.
That's a good point.
And there's less stuff in my fridge, so I can keep better track of it. I know that's not something everyone is able to do. It takes more time, but it becomes a little bit more fun, and you can be a more agile cook, and I think that's what eliminating food waste is all about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye. We good? Yeah. We got it? We did it. So good.
All right,
You guys,
Everybody
get
eat
your
up.
plate. Anybody want some hot sauce? It's so good.
For Irene's recipes and a link to the climate, community, and conservation issue, visit our website at edibleboston.com. For more information on Oxfam's 5 Simple Steps, visit their website at oxfamamerica.org.